Hey everybody, this week I'm going to walk you through what I'm working on for my Etsy metal Charmswap, and I've decided to do a little die. If you saw last week's video, you saw me point out this little skull charm on my bench. And this is what I was originally going to do, but we're trying to do a quicker turnaround this time on our Charmswap. Instead of having a few months, we're doing like a month and a half turnaround. So after I got started working on this, I realized it was going to be a little bit too much for the short time. So I looked around my bench. So what else do I use a lot in my work that says Amuck, besides skulls? So I'm looking around, and also what do I have that, because I have to make 15 charms. What do I have enough of? Well, I got this jar sitting over here full of dice, so that's what I'm picking. Another antique mall find years ago. It's my favorite place to find materials for jewelry. So I've got all my dice, and I'm just going to do all white ones. So I have a lot of those. So the first thing is we're going to make a bezel for it. And I'm taking this strip, silver strip, and I'm punching a little dot pattern that you've seen me do in previous videos using a center punch. It's real easy to get that little texture with that. And then I'm also using serrated silver bezel wire. So these two things are getting doubled up to create a little bezel cup. So let me punch out some more dots on this and then we'll get started. Got the first bezel soldered and onto the die, and I try to get that as tight as possible. So then I'll take the bumpy, and it's a little bit heavier gauge sterling, and we're just going to fold it around on top of that bezel. Let's see. Need the stronger glasses. All right. And if you don't have a pair of these scissors, they're joist chin. I highly recommend them. use them all the time down here. And they're kitchen shears actually, so you can find them in kitchen stores. I'm going to take this back over to the soldering station, and again I'm just going to use the little kitchen butane torch, and I'll be right back. A lot of times when I'm just soldering a bezel, I'll just use my little kitchen butane torch. Okay, we're back over here, and I'm putting on the second bezel. It looks like it's fitting perfect. Love that when I have to just give it a little tap with the mallet, because that means it's on nice and tight, each layer. Okay, I've slid off both bezels together from the die, and we're going to sand the bottom. And I'm just looking to see if there's any light from underneath the bezel. I want to make sure that's very flush. Okay, now we can take it back to the soldering bench and put it down to this little square of silver I've pre-cut. Looks like a good fit. Okay, so I've got my 2 layers of bezel soldered to the back plate, and I've kind of trimmed around the edge a little bit more just to get a little bit closer. And I did 15 of them. All right, so we're almost there. At this point, I'm thinking, why did I sign up for another swap? But it's a good challenge for me because I don't normally make things in multiples very often. So it's a good challenge, although stressful for me. But my last soldering step is to put my... And right about there, my microphone cut out. But as I was saying, my final soldering step is to place my Amuck stamp. And I've pre-stamped, cut, and soldered the backs of these pieces. So I should be able to go over to the soldering bench and have a fairly easy time of getting these up and soldered. And I'm placing it over the bezel seam. Okay, I've got the silver caps out of the patina bath. And I absolutely love the color of these when they first come out. It's so dark. Pretty. So now I'm going to make the little brass portion of the charm. It has some hand stamping on it. I've got all my little brass discs punched, holes drilled, and now we'll go over to the anvil and stamp them. Okay, over at the anvil, and usually I'll just start stamping away and then wonder why in the end nothing's equal. So I'm going to stop and take some time and mark the circle out into 4/4. I have to remind myself often, slow down. It's always worth it to spend a little extra time and mark things. Okay, I'll just do a couple here. And let's see, what stamps did I use on this? Go. And I'm only using 2 different stamps for the top design. Yeah, can't really see. And I kind of rock the die to the sides, front to back, to get a good impression. So hitting the top corner, side, side, and then straight on. And I'll do that 14 more times. Okay, let's go back to the bench and I'll show you a closer view of what we just stamped over here on the anvil. And here's all of our little brass discs with their stamps. Kind of look like a little handful of Roman coins. So I have one more soldering step to do, and that is to solder these to these little tiny brass dots. And that will run through the die and then be the catch for the jump ring. So let's head to the soldering station and knock this out. So I'm just going to hit the little brass tips with my polishing wheel, give them a little cleanup, and then we'll put all these dice together. Okay, I've got all the pieces stacked, ready to twist the little tops over. All right, I've got them all put together, all the little jump rings on. 15 dice charms for the Etsy Metal Charmswap. I hope you enjoyed watching me make my charms for this year's challenge. I think it's a fun one. We'll see you next week.